If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Ooh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE sponsored podcast.
That's right, it is. Hey, girl. Hi.
Oh, hello.
What's going on?
Look at us. We are on day, I don't know, of NPE. We're feeling a little raspy, a little.
Yeah, I just realized when I started, I was like, that's several notes lower than I usually start.
It's okay. That means we are having an excellent time and making the most use of our time here.
We are.
We're making all the friendships, all the besties.
All the very quick commutes on my skateboard between the west and the south.
There's a lot of skateboarding.
It's so far.
It is very far.
Very far.
Honestly, a skateboard is a brilliant idea. You're probably going to take someone out with it, but that's okay.
We've really enjoyed working with the crew here, Tristan and Asa, CNTV.
Shout out.
Making us look our
very best.
Best that we can, especially
best at this stage in the game.
And this hour of the morning.
Yes.
Which is almost afternoon.
Which is not that early, but we're making it seem like it is.
I'm Mercedes Landazuri.
And I'm Lynzie Nebel.
And with our powers combined, we are PlastChicks, the voices of resin.
And we are here with one of the coolest people.
One of the coolest.
One of the coolest people. There's a lot of cool cred going on behind the scenes. We're here with Emily Bowser, who is the Process and Tooling Engineering Manager from Biomerics. Emily.
That's me.
Thanks for joining us.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Wow.
A very good place to start. What am I doing?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, let's.
This is going to be an unhinged episode.
Let's go.
Let's all embrace it and let's go.
I'd say living hinge episode. A little polypro.
Love a good polypropylene joke.
Yes.
But yeah, let's. How did you get started working in this industry?
So I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. And whenever I was looking at universities, it was in 2008. So it was actually right around the recession. So touring Penn State Barron, the plastics lab is on display there, right? Yeah, shout out to Penn State.
It's gorgeous.
It's very pretty.
Yes. So that and 100% job placement right out of school, I mean, it's a pretty good sell.
Especially in 2008, that is super appealing because
gosh.
that was,
Yeah.
a little dicey for a minute.
Yes. So I always knew I wanted to be an engineer and a hands-on engineer too. So that's why I ended up in plastics, really, is just by chance, I'd say, by seeing the lab.
So are you from the Erie area, or?
I'm actually from a small town east of Pittsburgh. I grew up in a town of like less than 1,000 people.
Okay, Kennywood's open, by the way.
Kennywood is open.
No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm kidding.
No, I don't have a zipper on my pants.
Inside Western Pennsylvania joke. Why are you known inside Western?
It's Eastern Pennsylvania.
Western.
It's Western.
It's a long state. It's a long state.
It's a very long state. But Eastern is the exact opposite of where Kennywood is. So
yes.
You're good at plastic, not so much with the geography.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's very fair. Okay, we're off.
Moving right along.
So can you kind of tell us like your journey between the jobs you've had since you left Penn State, what you've done, what experiences have you had?
Yeah, so I went into manufacturing as a process engineer right out of school. So it was really important to me personally to get into manufacturing because to me, like R&D, all of these things are not relevant if you can't manufacture it.
Okay.
So I've found a lot of value in that, and honestly, I love running machines. That's like kind of when I need to have a zen day, I go out and run a machine.
We love running machines.
We do love running machines.
Probably like
And I did teach Mercedes all about processing via GIFs.
Yeah, via
Yes.
GIFs. I would text her a question. I was like, working in the lab on the injection
Back pressure,
molder.
very hard to find in a GIF form.
I'm sure you got creative.
I got it. We got there.
And your work has taken you all over the world. I mean, didn't you work in Germany for a while?
Yeah, you had some of the coolest
Yeah. So I actually
experiences.
scaled up some manufacturing in Germany while I was at 3M. So that was a lot of fun. It was also very hard work.
Fair.
You're dealing with a completely different culture, communication. It was an experience to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you find like you were mentioning the culture differences between manufacturing in Germany or manufacturing in the U.S.? Did you find it was easier to drop in? Was there certain challenges that were extra hard about being in Germany or extra hard about being in the U.S.?
I'd say really it was impressive because they essentially received a machine from Arborg and it was up and running within a week. And typically in the US, at least plants that I've been to, that's not common, really, to go from full-on hookup. Granted, Arborg's right there, so they have a bunch of resources to come in and do calibrations, but it was very impressive. They really have the structure set up of, expanding it is possible pretty easally.
I do like that. I actually did get to visit the Arborg facility for my senior year at Penn State.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Oh yeah, because we're 4 years
I was a
off.
super senior.
Me too,
so
but I went my
so
senior
jealous.
year. My super senior year was Spain.
Okay, yeah.
Super senior year Spain.
Listen, some of us do co-ops.
Oh my God.
Yes, co-ops are important. Then you
They
get to go
are
on
important.
2 senior trips.
All right, so for those of us listening and watching who didn't have the opportunity to co-op or don't know what it is, what is a co-op and where did you do yours? How was it?
Yeah, so I actually did mine at Husky up in Milton, Vermont. So essentially you take a semester off from school and you go and work for a 6-month chunk of time. So it's awesome because as an intern, sometimes you don't really have time to dig in and do a major project just over 3 months over a summer. So it kind of gives you a longer extended period of time to really dig in to a larger project. Yeah.
You learned a lot?
Yeah, it was cool because essentially in the lab we were just trying to explode manifolds, which was awesome.
Who doesn't love that? Let's be
Yes.
honest.
Yeah.
And fun fact, I actually did my co-op experience with your brother-in-law.
Okay,
What?
yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so left out here. I'm
I
glad
know.
that you
Yeah,
guys put me
sorry.
in the middle today. I feel like a monkey in the middle. So Emily, you in the past have mentioned balancing the need for innovation in manufacturing with the emphasis on sustainability. So what strategies do you employ to ensure that your projects are both innovative and environmentally responsible?
Yeah, so it's tough in medical really because regrind's really not allowed. So from that aspect, it can be tricky from that. But really, I think of logistics. So I've done a lot of insourcing projects and pretty much vertically integrating into a plant. So you're taking out shipping and things like that. So that's like a big way I see, like maybe not everyone thinks that from a sustainability standpoint, but you're not shipping plastic across the country over the ocean, things like that. Yeah.
So would that actually classify as like in situ manufacturing or, right? Okay, that's, no.
Sure. Yeah, of course it would.
All right.
How would it not? No, I think that's a really, I think those are some of those like obvious like, hey, we could do these things now without, because I think sometimes when we talk about sustainability and we talk about like trying to design your products or like drop in new materials, people start to get that like chest tightening where you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this?
Right.
But there are things that are a lot more obvious and easy to do that you don't necessarily like have to, change your entire product for.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it also goes into like tracking scrap. How do we improve processes so we're not wasting stuff? And actually the interesting thing at 3M is a lot of their manufacturing plants were zero waste plants.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're recycling everything, and if it can't be recycled, they didn't incinerate it. So essentially it's a zero landfill situation.
I didn't know that about them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you recently moved over to Biomerics in, I believe,
Salt Lake City.
Okay, I was gonna say, I felt like Utah was the right state, but
Yeah,
It is
also,
the right
a lot of
state.
also our
manufacturing
geography's been
now
a
in
little,
Utah.
Yeah, it's a little off
a
right
little
now.
shady lately.
I know I'm like, I was gonna start naming capitals. I'm sorry. Let's get back. Let's get back to the agenda, shall we?
Okay. And so, have you used some of those principles that you picked up at 3M to like bring them into Biomerics? Like, what kind of like reign do you have on like influencing some of those sustainability decisions there?
I mean, I would say I have some because I'm the engineering manager for the molding group. The nice thing about Biomerics too is it's a vertically integrated company as well. So we do a lot of manual assembly on site.
Perfect.
We have multiple plants across the US too, and kind of each has their like niche. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like hearing that more companies are kind of going to that model from the get-go. Makes it a lot easier.
Now,
Yeah.
what was it? Now, we've talked about how your work has taken you all over the world. But what was it like moving from Pennsylvania, highly populated, hilly area, to Utah?
Well, really, I would say, right, I lived in Minnesota for about 7.5 years in between there. And when I moved there, it was like I moved to a small town. So it was like not that major of a change, but lived in Minneapolis for a bit and then Salt Lake. So it's definitely different living in a major city.
Yeah.
You know, and personally, I don't like crowds or people really that much. That's
So
why Utah's great for
perfect.
me. I can go hiking, skiing whenever I want. But it was just a transition of, you know, instead of needing to drive 30 minutes to get to your nearest Walmart, like in Pennsylvania, it's, you know, 5 minutes away.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
That does happen.
Yeah, a lot less traffic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do like that. So, you know, we've also talked about the fact that, like, and we talk about it all the time, having like great mentors in the industry, and like the impact on, you know, all of our careers. None of us, if anyone says they don't have a mentor or have never had a mentor, they're a liar.
They just haven't realized it yet.
Or they're not
they just
socially
haven't
aware.
realized that.
Can you know, share an example of how mentorship has like impacted your professional growth? How do you approach mentorship in your current role? Because I mean, you're a manager, so you have to put on your big girl pants and like
Yes.
mentor people.
Yeah, so like my first mentor at the 3M plant I worked at really gave me confidence, which I think is like a great thing when you're mentoring
Underrated.
someone. Yeah, because like right out of school, you're kind of like, okay, am I doing this right? And he like really gave me the confidence of, you know what you're doing, like don't feel like you don't, because you do, you know, and kind of just empowered me to be more courageous, I guess. So. Yeah.
And are you actively mentoring people now?
Yeah,
within your company,
I mean,
outside
I'm
your
managing
company?
7 engineers, so I look at that as part of my job is mentoring all of them. So really, for them, it's kind of understanding where do they want to get technically, you know, and how can I provide tools to them to get there, right? The other side of it too is sometimes just navigating how do you go start to finish on a new product introduction, you know, because that's a whole process in itself as well. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you mentioned so one of your mentors at 3M was male. I mean, we're surrounded by a lot of men in this industry.
Yeah.
I don't think we're at 50-50 men, women in this industry.
Are we?
yet.
Let me
We're
count. How many
slightly-
women actually do we
Let's
see?
take a look around.
I
How many can you
literally
count
see
right now?
no. Oh, there's one. I see one. We got one.
We got one, folks.
One in the wild.
So as a woman in this male-dominated industry, I mean, we all face challenges, right?
Yeah.
How do you advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion in the manufacturing sector? And do you have any advice for other women pursuing careers in manufacturing?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, do it. If you feel like a badass in
Do it,
manufacturing,
do
I'm not
it.
gonna lie. Like telling my friends on like what I do sometimes, they're just like, whoa, that sounds so cool. And really, it's just be courageous, do it. And I think it's easy, at least as a woman in a male-dominant field, is to always feel like you have a chip on your shoulder. Like you always have to prove yourself that like I'm one of the guys, I can hang. So, you know, I don't know how that goes away completely, but I would just advocate for everyone to do it, really.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the more women we get into this industry, I think the more like some of us can kind of relax. Maybe that's not the right word, but like
I relaxed a ton the first time I heard your voice. we met over an old-timey conference call where you had literally
yes,
called
no
in.
Zoom.
No Zoom.
I don't even know if we knew how to use Zoom back in those days.
Yeah, maybe a couple. I had done it once.
I say that semi-jokingly, but I'm also somewhat serious.
Definitely didn't have it downloaded.
But yeah, like the more women, the more like you could feel comfortable being like your actual true self
Yes.
in this industry. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
there is something to say. Like when you're like running a press, like I was running a press like 8 months pregnant, and I was like, you know, pulling parts out, and I'm
Yeah.
like, there's something. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's also like, yeah, I can do this, and I'm going to be capable and just as good, if not better, than some people. I won't say all people, some people. But yeah, I think you're right though. Like I think there's that chip on your shoulder that you have to be conscious of, but not like let
Yeah.
it ruin your relationships with other people, because there are a lot of male allies in this industry that are willing to help us and like
Yeah.
help us grow, and you know, They're cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
We'll keep them.
Speaking of allies,
Speaking of
you're
cool.
married.
Yes, I am.
I presume it's a healthy alliance.
Yes, it's a healthy alliance. Yeah.
And you're both plastics engineers.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Where did you meet?
In college.
In college?
He's actually my TA. He gave me wrong answers.
On purpose?
Yes. I think so, or he just didn't know. I don't know.
Or that's the story he's going with
That's
now.
the story he's going with, yeah. But yeah, we actually started dating when he was no longer my TA, but I met him because he was my TA.
Okay.
And I think
well
if you're in
done.
plastics, like you
I was gonna say,
typically know everyone.
I feel like
in-
the rules wouldn't have been held that strictly.
Yeah. But I feel like you know all the classes when you're
Right,
at Barron's,
yeah.
really, because it's a very close-knit group, I'd say, overall.
So, do you feel like your professional backgrounds complement each other? How does
Yeah,
that work?
so he's in manufacturing as well, so it's kind of awesome. Like, at some point you're gonna hit, you're hitting your head off the wall. Like,
Right.
what do I do next? What am I missing? It's great because it's essentially I have a secret weapon at home. I can be like, hey, so this happened. What do you think? It's also kind of comical because, for example, he had a breached manifold at work, and he was like, how long do you think it took to fill up that much?
You're like, well, I've spent a long time blowing these things up.
In my expert explosion experience.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of like a game and just comical sometimes of like the stuff you end up talking about over dinner, where it's just like, oof, we're nerds. So
What are you cooking? What are you cooking next week after NPE? I think we'd like to come over.
We
and-
would come over.
yeah,
We'll
I could
go.
smoke you guys ribs. I'm actually the main cook at my house.
We do
for
love some
even
smoked
grilling.
ribs.
I'm the grill master.
You're the grill master.
I'm the grill master.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Love that. And I would think having a supportive partner that's also in the same industry can kind of aid in some of that burnout. Like before you get to the point of like feeling frustrated, you kind of have that partner to bounce things off of. So you've experienced burnout in the past, and I'm sure the pandemic has nothing to do with burnout.
Nothing to do with burnout.
And so now, like, as a manager, you said one of your big focuses on preventing that. So what do you do? What are your strategies? How do you like notice it? Like, because sometimes people mask that very well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just having very open communication, like creating the culture of my door is always open, like you can come talk to me, like if it's hard, happy, sad, like we can talk, we can work through it. It's also giving to a degree flexibility, right? That's important, especially since the pandemic. That's been a huge, I think, benefit that's come out of that.
Agreed. That and contactless ordering.
And Zoom.
Yes.
And Zoom.
And Zoom. And Zoom.
Shout out to Zoom.
But yeah, it's pretty much just giving them the space that they feel comfortable to communicate. And the other is like, since I'm essentially assigning their workload, is being mindful of that. And like, since I've started, I've honestly even shifted projects around because you look at everyone's workload and it's just like, woof, like we need to help you.
And I bet they feel very seen when, you're looking at their workload and being like, because I feel like sometimes people will be like, I'm so overwhelmed, and their boss will be like, okay,
Yeah.
see you later.
Actually, can you do this now
Yeah.
too? Add this.
I understand you're really pressed for time, but I'm
Great,
also
but
going to
when-
need you.
Also,
Yeah.
when is this going to be done?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and would you like to tell me all the details that you didn't want to tell me and don't have time to tell me? Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that must feel really nice to see you like take something off their plate or move it around to
Yeah.
like respect their workload. Like I think that's
Yeah.
That's
The
great.
other
We
thing
like
too
that. We like that about
is
you.
celebrating when projects go well. The
Yes.
completion of projects, like it should be a celebration. It shouldn't just be like, okay, now you got to focus on this one. Let's
you're
go.
right, because how much like mental capacity do we give to projects that go bad? So much.
lot.
So much energy, so much yelling, so much anger.
Yeah.
Like I think you're right. Like celebrating that kind of stuff would, I love a good dopamine hit.
Who doesn't, right?
You're absolutely right. Just a little bit about me. No, but we do these product launches, and you know what? I think that's something I'm going to implement. We launch it, but there's when we present it, but there's not a lot of celebration that comes after that. So I think that's something I want to start implementing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But
a good
So
one.
thanks for that.
when
Yeah,
you
definitely do it.
you have to text Emily every time
Yeah.
to say thank you, and
Yeah.
she gets a dopamine hit. It's a double dope.
Yes.
Group text, and then we'll move to the other conversation we were talking about.
That's inappropriate. Yep.
So you have a three-legged cat.
Yes.
Not dog.
Not dog. It's cat.
Okay. But this cat started off with 4 legs.
Yes, it did.
Is this a suitable for work story?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Actually, we had just bought our first house, and we were taking out cardboard recycling at like 11 p.m. at night. And I thought it was a raccoon. And then I saw it was a cat. I was like, oh, it's just a cat. So I went back to what I was doing. And actually, my husband was the savior. He's like, this cat is very hurt. And essentially picture like a zombie movie. That was like her back leg. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wanted to take her. She knows this. The cat knows it too, I think. I wanted to take her to the Humane Society. My husband was like, let's take her to the vet. So, long story short, now we got a cat.
Now you have
What's her name?
Junie.
Junie.
Yeah.
Poor Junie. Now she lives in a nice plastic house.
Yeah.
I love her.
Now she went from dumpster to mansion. We call it her cat mansion.
I very much love that for her.
I love that. Oh,
She was like, listen. But speaking of your house, you love fixer-uppers.
Yeah.
And you also love hobby 3D printing.
Yes.
So your house has got to be fun as heck.
Yeah.
Also being a cat mansion, I would imagine.
Do you 3D print things for Junie?
Because you should.
I don't know if I actually have 3D printed anything for Junie. I feel like a bad parent now.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No. You know what? We learn things during these podcasts. We go home, we make changes.
We're going to do dopamine hits and we're going to print things for the cat.
Yes. Okay. I'll put it on my to-do list after this. So, no, actually, like our home office at home is pretty cool. Like it's got a full like tool setup, and the 3D printer is obviously in there, and it can actually laser engrave as well.
Ooh.
So with that, I actually have a lathe unit, and I designed
all the cool things.
I know.
I designed
We are really coming
After
over,
dinner,
just so you
after
know.
the ribs, we're gonna like check out your 3D printer.
All right, let's do
what
it.
kind you got?
It is a snap maker.
Okay,
Shout
so
out.
it's a filament.
Yeah, it's a filament one.
method.
Yeah, so it actually CNCs as well. But with the
Why do we not have this?
yeah, you gotta get one.
We could just be printing stuff while we meet.
I have a couple of 3D printers, but none with those capabilities.
No.
It sounds like you
to
need to
upgrade.
add it to your shopping list.
I have one that I still have to put together. I've gotten really far. I took the box downstairs.
You didn't put it together yet?
No, I have 4 kids. What am I supposed to do?
That's so true. Make them do it.
Yeah,
do
make them
But,
do it.
yeah, give it to Henry.
I feel
Figure
like
this
that's
out.
a disaster.
Figure this out.
Your first engineering project. Congratulations, kids.
Good luck.
What is the coolest thing you've printed on it? I mean, now that we know you have all these capabilities, I'm expecting something really cool.
Yeah, I actually printed for my one friend fitness chest. So I went in and like designed a bunch of like, so I do CrossFit, not to poach.
So does Lynzie.
Yeah, cool.
How does it never come up on the podcast before? I thought when you do CrossFit, like
You
that's
talk
the first
about it.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I'm
I
very
think this
sneaky.
is the first time it's come
Also,
up.
I'm very tired. I do it at 5:15.
Actually, you
Makes
never
me very
talk about
sleepy.
CrossFit,
I know
Yeah.
because I'm sleepy.
No, but ever.
Because I'm sleepy.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Sorry. Like Lynzie, I know so much about
Would
you.
you
and I
like
only
me to
found
tell
out
you
that
more?
do CrossFit because of your Instagram. Okay. All right.
So I designed and printed fitness chests for my friends. So like the pawns were kettlebells.
Oh, that's cute.
And like I like designed like a rower, a skier, and like an assault bike and stuff like that.
It's so cool.
So it's cool too because it keeps me fresh on my SolidWorks skills.
I mean, that is essential because I think I was asked fairly recently, someone said, how are you with SolidWorks? I'm like, I feel like I could say yes, but also like I haven't
like I
touched
could
it
say
in
yes.
years. Yeah.
How are you with SolidWorks? I feel like I could say yes.
Yeah, it's a probable yes.
It's like riding a bike.
Well, I did do that for the first time
Oh, we
on
talked
Saturday
about that.
in
Disaster.
a while.
Wait, you
Not-
just rode a bike
not,
for the
not
first
time
time?
ever, just like
Okay.
first time in like years.
Yeah, many
Okay.
years.
we
many
just
years.
we don't really bike. I'm more of a foot person. My feet do the things bikes do.
Oh, you're a foot person. this is going off the rails. So I mean, a lot of the I've done a little bit of okay. So you actually did the CAD designs for the
Yes.
chess set that you did.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I only started doing CAD design after I got the 3D printer.
Okay.
Big learning curve.
Yes.
Big learning curve.
Yes. The other cool thing I did is actually with the lathe unit, I designed stuff to be able to actually laser engrave on dog bowls. So that's my little side hustle I'm trying to establish.
On dog?
dog bowls, like you put their
Oh,
names
dog
on.
bowls.
Dog
Oh,
bowls,
cool.
yeah.
Not on cat bowls.
Not cap.
You
Forget
know
about
what?
Junie. Junie gets
Junie
nothing.
doesn't. How can you not put anything for Junie?
Actually,
I
okay.
do all this stuff for dogs. Like,
Way to go, dogs. How many dogs do you have, Emily? Because we all know the answer. It's a big 0.
0. But yeah.
all right.
Poor
So,
Junie.
advice for aspiring engineers.
I would say, honestly, don't be afraid to make mistakes and break stuff, because when you break stuff, you're learning. I've broken many things in my career.
Some for your career, right? The exploding manifolds and
yeah.
Purposeful. You got points for
But
that.
it's one of those things, like, right, when you mess up or something gets broken, number one, always be accountable, take ownership, right? The biggest thing there, though, is it's a great learning experience, because it's typically like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. You know, like even simple lessons. Like when I worked at Husky once, I left a controller on overnight.
Uh-oh.
Now, every time I run a machine, like I triple check
Right.
Yeah.
that the hot runner controller is off.
Won't
you know?
do that again.
Yes. So I think it's, you know, my advice would be don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you're going to make them and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
you learn
Just
from them.
Yeah, just make sure you learn from them.
Yeah, like don't talk about your foot person anymore.
Just meant I'm a walker.
Nah, peep finder. No,
Not, and now
sorry.
So,
I need a bike now.
all right, okay, let's get serious.
Wait,
What
that's not
are-
our thing.
No, it's totally not our thing. But one of my things is trends.
Yes,
So
you do love trends.
I love trends.
Seriously.
So, want to pick your brain about emerging trends or technologies in manufacturing. What are you most excited about?
Like Industry 4.0, it's been around for a little while now, but like to me, not a lot of places have actually implemented it or implemented it correctly.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know, for all the different facilities I've been to throughout my career, I've seen one that really just nailed it. But I think that's like, as a processing person, is just knowing what the capabilities that are there and everything's tied in. So then you don't forget that you left a hot runner manifold
There
on.
would be something letting you know.
Yes, something's going to be barking. So it's just like, to me, I think that's really exciting, because it also takes it to the level of like capacity planning. No longer doing that in an Excel format. It's literally generated just for you.
We were just talking yesterday with someone about how like Google Sheets and Excel are really like working hard for this industry, because
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much stuff that's done in
they're-
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're overburdened.
They're
they need some
overburdened.
time off.
Let's give them a rest.
They'd like to put their friends they like to leverage some of their friends to do some of the heavier lifting.
we
Yeah.
need to get a little bit fancier. Let's step up our game. Industry 4.0 for real.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, you know, looking ahead, what kind of legacy do you want to leave on this industry? Which, like, that's a weighty question, but like,
Yeah.
let's go for
That
it.
feels really heavy.
It feels really
That's
heavy
very
for
heavy.
So let's go there.
I mean, I think I would really zoom in versus zoom out on this, really, is I feel like I just have the opportunity to touch X amount of people, for example, that I'm managing. And to me, like, the importance is, you know, getting them on the right path and being like a good leader, or like being someone like that they would look back on and be like, wow, like I learned so much from that person. Like that's really what like gives me passion about things, is just things like that.
And so where does that come from? Like why? I mean, do you feel like your the people that you've had in your life, your former managers or mentors, do you feel like that they did that for you, or where does it come from?
I mean, I'd say
Or
like
did they not? And now.
no, they did.
Ooh, vengeance! I'm gonna make
No
everyone
vengeance. I'm
the
not
best
making
they can
vengeance.
be.
No.
Not today. Today's not a day for vengeance.
I think it's more so just with most places that are doing molding, probably at least outside of Erie, PA, because they are lucky as heck because there's so much talent in that
Yes.
city.
Yes,
Hashtag
indeed.
blessed.
Yeah, hashtag blessed for you. Sorry, not for me. But it's like at most places outside of Erie, I mean, for example, where I work, I'm the only plastics engineer in my group.
Really?
So, like, to me, it's just getting these people on the right path, right? Because a lot of people end up in this industry kind of just happens.
Right.
It's not really part of their plan,
Here
but
I
it
am.
happens.
Yeah.
Surprise.
There we go. Right. So, and it's just like not where I currently work, like throughout my career at 3M, same deal. Right. So, yeah.
I think that's nice. I think that's a nice note to end on.
Yeah. But let's not end just yet.
Not well.
I don't know. Like what? So we've talked about legacy. Now let's take like a couple steps back. What's your next step in the industry? Where do you want to go from here?
I don't know.
You're so young.
Besides
I know.
printing Junie cat bowl.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's not. Yeah. Okay.
Make Junie
That's
cat
the
bowls.
immediate next.
Start a cat. A cat device. A cat device
A
company.
cat device company, yes. You know, I honestly don't know. I mean, right now, I'm seeing how I actually like managing people. I mean, I've been doing it for about 7 months.
Okay.
So I'm relatively new to being a manager. So it's really still just understanding, like, what do I really like here? Do I like being a manager, being just an engineer type of deal too, like long-termly? But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Honestly, it sounds like you're quite a good manager.
I know. I feel like if you're
Yeah,
taking the time to think
No,
about
you're-
these things.
I love managing people. I know a lot of people don't, but it's so rewarding for me. And
Yeah.
and I've read a ton of books about it. I've talked to a lot of my mentors about it, how to like be the best manager you can be. And you're already like, it's surprising to me that you've only been managing people for 7 months.
Well,
I would
thank you. I'll
have said
take that as
7
a-
years.
Well, she graduated in you started school in 2008, huh?
Oh, 2009.
2009.
The math,
Yes.
the math doesn't quite
The
math.
math doesn't math.
No, but it seems like you really. I hope you're enjoying it because I'm
I
pretty
am.
sure just from the things that you've been saying, I'm pretty sure that your
I
team
am
is
enjoying it. Yeah, I think the big thing though is overall, I just want to stay in a technical side of things. I really don't want to leave the technical side of things.
And do you still get to like go on the floor and like
Oh yeah, yeah. So
push some plastics, if you will?
I love how your
Yes.
face lit up when you're like, yes, I get to go on the floor.
yeah, every once in a while we'll be a little shorthanded. I'll run some machines.
You're like, oh no. They're like, is this why like you love the flexibility? They're like, I'm sick today. You're like, okay, I'll be on the floor if you need me. Bye.
yeah, I'll be out there if you need me. I canceled all my meetings. But it's
Best
also
day
even,
ever.
I get to go to tool shops too, and really still I'm very heavily technical, even though I am a manager. And actually, to go full circle here, like one of the reasons too I wanted to leave 3M was because I would never want to be a manager at a large corporation like that, to be honest. Because you really step away from the technical side of things once you get to that level at a corporation, really. So I'm at a much smaller company now, so it gives me the ability to continue to grow technically type of deal. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
I say that all the time. What's the highest paid job I can do without having any people underneath
Yeah,
me?
Lynzie doesn't like managing people.
I've got my own things to manage.
yeah, your 4 sons.
It's fine.
Danny.
It's fine.
Well, Emily Bowser, thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for
Yeah,
joining us on the pod
Absolutely
today.
love this. And I think we're only a little unhinged.
Like I would say like
There's a tinge, we're
like
okay.
We could really ramp it up.
I mean,
we'll
we're
ramp it up at
medium
the
level.
alumni thing tonight.
That sounds good. That way there's no cameras
Again,
around.
so we'll end this as we started leaving Mercedes out of things. I'm gonna have to go. Actually, my colleagues last night they thought I had a PhD. So
at
maybe
you.
that's where I'll get my PhD.
Penn State. How
There
dare
you go. Then you can start coming to the alumni.
I'll have to.
How
I
dare you.
compete at everything.
All right. Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, thank you guys.